Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
Welcome to Comics Evolve, myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
How are we doing, guys? How's Jarian?
Doing pretty good. I am on location again. I'm actually in Seattle, Washington this week for work, so hopefully no issues using the hotel Wi-Fi to get this going.
Chesting out the hotel Wi-Fi there. Yeah, I love that. Alex, how are you?
Good. I didn't get back into town until like 1 a.m. last night and didn't sleep for a few hours last night, so I'm about to pass out at like 6 o'clock here already. I mean, I'm so tired, so I'll be heading to bed here probably after this. So.
And it's late here in the UK, so we are just soldiering on through this. This just goes to show how important this is. This is important. Yeah, good stuff. We're here today. We're going to be talking about that Loki season 2 finale. What a great finale that was. We'll get stuck into that any moment. We're going to have some news. We've got some rumors. I know we're going to tackle a few other little bits and pieces today. We are not going to be talking about the Marvels today, even though we have all seen it. That is going to be coming next week. So if you're here to listen to us talk about the Marvels, like Nostalgic Podblasters just said there on the comments, hi fellas, saw the Marvels and he liked it. Catch us next Monday and we're going to be talking about the Marvels. All right, Nostalgic Podblast. Yeah, okay, good man. Let's get stuck in. Loki season 2 finale. What a great finale. You know what? I know I'm just overall, just speaking generally, and if you listen to this show and you guys know, after episode 3, I was doubting this show. I was like, I loved the first episode. I thought that was brilliant. Episodes 2 and episode 3, I was like, there was something missing. I just didn't see it. I didn't feel it. Then 4 picked it up. 5 knocked it out of the park. And then the finale just absolutely nailed this. And for me, I would put this, I don't know where it's going to sit at the minute, but I would put this in my top 5 Marvel projects of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think what was awesome too was we called some of this episode too in the previous episode when we discussed this, like talking about like, Timely dying like several times, talking about like Loki working through that, like one of my favorite moments in this episode was when Loki asked OB, like, how long would it take me to learn about physics as much as you know? And it's like maybe decades, maybe centuries. And it's like centuries later. And then all of a sudden he knows everything there is to know, So it's a great episode. Fantastic.
Yeah, that meme I posted earlier with you, Alex, I shared about the Norman Osborn one. It's like, how fast can you learn this? Centuries later, I'm somewhat of a scientist now myself. with him with long black hair as Loki's.
I'd tell you what I really loved about that as well was that, we've been saying for a couple of episodes, haven't we, about how short a time period this has been for Loki himself. I know the time works differently in the TVA, I know that. But for Loki himself, it's been a few weeks. Not even that, really. Matter of days, like Renslayer said earlier on in the season, that since she left the TVA, so since the end of season 1. So it's got to be, in Loki's time, up to that point, it's still only got to be a couple of weeks since he left New York. And now, all of a sudden, he's now lived another couple of 100 years on top of that, relearning everything about quantum physics and engineering and all that kind of stuff. So I love that idea that we've kind of, it reminded me a little bit of Doctor Strange in Infinity War, and when he came back after seeing all of the 14 million and 6 futures, he was a different person. He was totally a different person, and you see that with Loki, like he's sort of confident and he just knows everything. He's now no longer bumbling around like a bit of a fool, not really knowing what this stuff is. Now he knows exactly how these machines work, and he goes around just typing everything in and pushing people out of the way. But yeah, I just winding back to what you were saying, Alex, about the multiple Victor Timely deaths. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I loved everything. Like Loki got to the point where with the dialogue, he would be speaking to people and he would knew exactly what they were gonna say, and like even when he like goes down there and he's like, he's got OB's model of the temporal loom and everything like that, and he pulls that out. OB's like, that's not completed. He's like, what are you talking about? Looks fantastic, looks great. Anyways, Timely, this is you. You see that? The guy in that little costume looks just like you. That's gonna be you, like you walk right down here. I thought it was so funny. It was like he was like, we got to get to the fastest route to get this done, and yeah, I mean, it was a great episode. I love the music that they played. I can't remember the song, but that was such a good song that they chose for that. Honestly, like everything up until the finale, like this episode moves so fast and it's so good, and the pacing I felt was excellent. And yeah, I mean, great episode.
Yeah, the entire series pacing was excellent. I remember saying that before. It's like there always seems like there's that 1 or 2 episodes that it feels like a lull. They're trying to do filler, but this whole series from episode 1 to episode 6 had great pacing. And speaking of the whole time loop and him interrupting things like the conversations and kind of get things faster. The best part for me is when he walked into the room with Miss Minutes and Renslayer and Brad, and he goes in there and does something, and the look on Miss Minutes' face at that point, because it was like she was like flabbergasted at what was going on, and then boom, back to the room to work on the loom.
It gave me a lot of Edge of Tomorrow vibes. That kind of do it again, do it again. Yeah, just good, do it again. And it was very much like that Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, where they just keeps dying, and she sort of shouts at him. That when he's doing the training in the room, she goes, "Oh, again!" She just goes over and shoots him, and then he starts again. So yeah, I love that loop, that repetitiveness, and like you said, Alex, we called that.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments was, and I believe we discussed this last episode, was like when he goes basically back and discuss the gambit of the whole situation with He Who Remains, and he's like, he talks to He Who Remains, and He Who Remains like basically like freezes Sylvie, and he's like, let me guess, you haven't learned to do that yet? Like, he's like, okay, well, I'll let you just keep going around and around and around and around, until you finally figure it out. And then at one point, Loki and him are talking, and Loki snaps his fingers, and she stops. And he's like, you don't realize how many times we've had this conversation. I was just like, man, that's so awesome.
Yeah, that was a complete rope-a-dope by Loki the entire time, playing He Who Remains, playing stupid to see what He Who Remains would divulge to him without him knowing what Loki can actually do. So that was classic right there.
Yeah, I'm still not entirely sure who was in control and when in those conversations, though. That you never quite felt like, wait a minute, does he know, or does he know, or do they both know, or do you know what I mean? It was never really ultimately clear who had, and it still isn't really. I mean, we'll get on to the end of the show in a moment, but it still isn't really clear who's got the upper hand here. And I don't think He Who Remains or Kang or whatever variant, that they're still as strong as they were before. It's in a stronger position.
I feel like this is like such a strong like moment in the MCU of like looking at like He Who Remains was trying to tell Loki, like, you're destined to do this, like either go towards the multiversal war or take my seat, one or the other. You either kill Sylvie and do this and do fix all this, or you don't multiversal war. And this was like Loki trying to make an option 3 by the end of this episode, so this is like Loki trying to have that free will to do what he thinks, which is, like try and let the multiverse have free will. And I love that line where they talk about like the multiplier is supposed to fix that issue of how the loom basically has constantly branching timelines that create an infinite number that continue to create more and more and more. And eventually it's always going to melt down, right? Like the multiplier is not going to be able to stop that. So now Loki is like the multiplier, right? Like Loki is going to be the one that kind of like hones all that in. So I thought that was awesome.
Back to that He Who Remains conversation with Loki, I felt like Loki was in control the entire time, because when I said it felt like classic Loki. Go back to the first Thor, when we find out the whole time it was Loki all along, pulling the strings, the whole thing with the Frost Giants and Jotunheim, all that kind of maneuvering to become King of Asgard. This felt like classic Loki manipulation in that aspect with the whole thing with He Who Remains.
A nice little play on the Black Widow and Loki conversation as well from Avengers, where Loki thought he was in control of that conversation, but actually Natasha was in control of that conversation.
Yeah.
From the chat here, real quick. Nostalgic Pod Blast. Honestly, I'm getting the alternate universe timeline fatigue. Multiverse this, multiverse that, which I can see that, and they seem to be balancing that out, between some projects because we're going to shift now to Echo, which is going to be more street level, so we won't hear as much about the multiverse. And it seems like now later on it gets the news that we might only have one movie next year, which is going to be a multiversal movie, but some of the other projects in the pipeline aren't so as much multiverse focused.
I think as well, what doesn't help is, obviously with DC and the Flash, that was all about in different timelines, different universes. We've had, Invincible season 2 has just started, and there's the sort of multiverse angle with that. There's quite a few different things that are playing this kind of alternate timeline, multiverse kind of stuff at the moment. So I can kind of see what Nostalgic Podcast is saying. Like I said, I think I said to you guys off air last week with Invincible, and I was trying not to give it away. I was like, no, I really enjoyed it, but I just kind of went, oh, okay, we're doing this again, are we? Okay, and everything's about sort of another universe or another timeline. But if that's, it's like fashion, isn't it? I suppose what's in is in, and if this is in at the moment, this is in, and everyone's just got a vie to do it better than the other ones. And like you said, Joe, and I think Marvel's ace in the hole is the fact that they've got such like superheroes. Somebody said this the other day, or I read this, or did I come up with it? I'm not sure where this came from, but somebody said superheroes isn't the genre. It's not a superhero genre. Superheroes are just the participants in different genres. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to Echo, and hopefully that'll have nothing to do with the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, back to Loki. Back into Loki. The conversation with Mobius.
Yes.
So that conversation, that was the first time he met him, and that was the last time he saw him as well. I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was really poignant.
And you find out Renslayer was the one that had to prune the child that was 5,000, killed 5,000 people all the way back on the timeline, which I thought that was very interesting that they brought that up. I feel like that's like going to play into something in the future. I felt like maybe that was like a Kang variant at first, but then once they revealed that was actually like, kind of like how Timely was a little boy in like the 1800s, I felt like maybe that would be like another like variant or something that was put in there. Because at the end of this, you see Timely never gets the book.
Nope.
And just remains a candle maker in the 1800s. And they kind of just like reset that and kind of just move him out of the way. And like he's kind of forgotten. But yeah, I mean, like, and then when he's talking to Mobius about that, he asked what happened to that person. He's like, she became a judge.
Yep.
I was just like, wow, so like, it seems like Renslayer has kind of like been, I guess, like chosen almost by He Who Remains or whatever, because like she was willing to do all the hard things, and who knows, maybe she was out there pruning his variants and things like that, and that's what helped him win the war,
Yeah, that whole conversation was interesting with Renslayer. Find out that that's the reason why Loki's there. Find out that was Mobius's old partner, her rise through the TVA. So, and then the end where we see her in the void, in that we didn't really see Alioth. We saw the purple stuff, so that could have been Alioth, that could have been another Kang variant, that could have been, so we don't know what she encountered there as she saw the broken symbol of the TVA there on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, that could be left open for interpretation to where, like, if it was Alioth and it was coming to eat her or whatever, she technically would have fought next to Alioth with, He Who Remains in the multiversal war, because he says he harnessed the power of Alioth from the tears in the multiverse, like in the universes. So, like, we know that she was like a general, so maybe that's like something where it doesn't eat her and, like she pops back up or something at some point. I thought that was a really interesting scene. I wish they would have just gone a little bit further and they would have shown us if she was eaten by Alioth or what that was she was looking at or whatnot. But we know she's in the void. We just don't know what's going to happen to her, So,
from the chat here in the Subject Pod Blast, now that Marvel Studios VP Victoria Alonso is gone, in a year or so the MCU might improve. Now that the SAG actor strike is resolved, we should see even better new content down the line, which I'll address that too, because the SAG strike is over and some of the concessions they got, there is some schedule shuffling and some reshoots happening for Project 2. We'll talk about that when we get to the news.
Cool. Just before we get to the sort of big finish, and the literal holding on to the timelines, the performances from the actors throughout this series, but certainly from Owen Wilson and obviously Tom Hiddleston in this last episode, I thought was absolutely outstanding. And you know what I think what Tom Hiddleston did in this last episode or two was incredible. I thought it's up there with Oscar Isaac from Moon Knight for me.
Yes.
Just really, really good work as an actor. Do you know what I mean? Like just solid stuff. Like this should go down as one of his sort of biggest achievements and best performances in his career.
Yeah, I think that for Loki as a character, he has probably one of the best character arcs in the MCU at this point. You know, and I was doing this earlier, but like I thought Iron Man had a great arc with how he died and everything, but I think this is kind of up there at that level of like this is an epic moment in the MCU like that, how this episode finishes. Because like Loki went from being a villain to a hero, but like his whole thing, even in the first season when he was talking to the Asgardian that was a Valkyrie, what was her name, that fought with Thor and Sif, thank you.
Yeah.
So like he was like having that replay where he kept on talking to her after like cutting her hair or whatever, and he like tells her that he's afraid of being alone. That's what this was all like about, even like his whole journey. And then at the end he takes being alone to save everybody.
His glorious purpose.
Yeah, and to just sit there and hold it all together and use his powers. And you know, like I think that's just awesome. It's like an epic ending for a character, but also not a complete and entire ending to where he could come back at some point if they want to, or he could just sit there forever, you know?
Anytime, you know, pretty much he's in the role he's in now. He's almost like the Molecule Man. They could do a mix of the Molecule Man / the Beyonder with him going forward, because they left it so much open that no matter what happens with Jonathan Majors, they have a way to shift gears and not have to worry about the whole Kang thing. They can always go a different route they need to. Also, too, talking about his arc, he does have the longest arc in the MCU. He's been playing Loki for 14 years.
Yeah.
Since he was first cast as Loki. So think about that whole arc over this entire MCU. He's probably right now, he would be the longest.
What about Rhodey?
Oh, yeah, Rhodey. Yeah.
Rhodey's been around for a long time.
Yeah, Rhodey's been around longer. So Tom Hiddleston will be the second longest.
Yeah.
No, because Thor came out. Yeah, Thor came out before Iron Man 2.
No, it was after.
It was after. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember Coulson in Iron Man 2 was...
Oh, that's right. The desert. He had to go out to New Mexico. Yeah. So you're right. So he is the second longest tenured with Rhodey.
Obviously, technically, Rhodey was in Iron Man 1 as well.
Well, not different actor, though.
Yeah.
So I'm talking actor. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
No, but still, Don Cheadle has been playing. Is probably the longest serving. Well, I suppose Nick Fury.
Yeah, because Nick Fury, popped up now in the Marvels. So
yeah.
Couple things from the chat here. Natasha Podblast. I enjoyed Loki season 2. Only had a few minor gripes about historical and accurate elements in terms of props and set design.
Oh, go on then.
And then follow up on that, the props and set design. But then let's go to the next one here. Where was McDonald's drive-thru at the 1982 Mickey D's? Also, they had the wrong Herbie movie poster. Okay, in 1977, episode 2, there are no ashtrays in the 1982 McDonald's. Hey, some good things pointing out there. Some good eyes there.
Yeah, I love those things. Like, only fans can see that.
Yeah.
That's the only fans will spot those things, won't they? Yeah, great catches. Just a couple of things with Loki sitting on his throne at the end. It really gave me, when I saw the image, not necessarily when I saw him sitting there, but when I saw the image, as you know, I've done my rewatch of Game of Thrones a little while ago, and it gave me that free eye. I don't think either of you have seen it all the way through, have you? You have, Alex.
I've never watched it.
You've never watched it, right? Okay. So there's a character in there called the Three-Eyed Raven, and basically he sees everything. He can see everything that's ever happened at any time, past, present, and future. And it gave me a little bit of those kind of vibes. But also as well, somebody brought up a point that is Loki going to have to be persuaded to let go, and I like that because it's literally, and it's like a metaphor, but also physically letting go of the timelines. Yeah, he's actually going to have to do it. Like, he's actually going to have to let go of those timelines for whatever reason. And I quite like that idea.
Yeah, I wonder what event's going to cause that to happen. It'd be interesting as we move into King Dynasty and Secret Wars, what's going to cause that shakeup to happen.
I think the beauty in that finale really came from not only do you see him take the throne of what looks like He Who Remains in that scene, because you see what looks like, the window behind his seat, but when he goes and he sits down and he takes it and he pulls everything together, it's almost like roots that he's like bringing to life. And then they zoom out and they show like Idrisil, the world tree, where they like he takes that and he makes all these timelines into like a giant tree, and they do that thing where like it's like flat and then it turns and then you see like the bottom of the tree and you see the top, and it's like Loki finally got his throne. It wasn't over the 9 realms, but it was over something bigger. And it's kind of like one of those things. It's like being the king that nobody wants to be, almost, and
being the unsung hero as well. I don't think anybody's, in that role, really and truly. There's only a couple. Well, nobody really knows. Maybe Mobius and Sylvie know what he's doing, but nobody's really going to know that he's there. So he's got a throne, and he's got no servants. Nobody to be there and see him. He's not doing it for the credit, is he? He's doing it because it has to be done.
Mm-hmm. And I sat there wondering with that scene when he created Yggdrasil. It's like, so it was the 9 realms originally in the in the main universe. So is it now the representation of 9 main universes with their own branches in the MCU? Because if you think about it, we have, the main MCU 616, we have 838. Then we're going to bring the Foxverse in, which the Foxverse had a couple of universes of its own. You could go through and look at that and say, could there be 9 main universes? And at the end, it's going to be 1 main universe? Because I don't think Secret Wars will be the end of the MCU. I think it'll be the end of the multiverse in the MCU. But also, too, my notes there, he's at the crossroads, basically, where he's sitting now. So in the crossroads in the comics was an interdimensional location that exists outside the conventional time and space. So you could sit there and say, basically, Loki is now at the nexus of the multiverse of where he sits now. The other thing, too, is they're kind of, there's consistency now between the Sony universe and the Marvel universe, because when you go back to Across the Spider-Verse, they had that description of a tree for the Spider-Verse multiverse as well. And now we're having the same thing in the MCU. So the Sony universe could be one of those main universes with its own branches between the different Spider-Man projects. So there's some things there that could be coming together. It'd be interesting to see how they handle this going forward.
I saw another parallel that I really liked, and it was Loki kind of reminded me of the like Greek mythology, like Atlas, the one who holds the world on his back, and basically like carries and holds the weight of the world in essence. I was like, he's kind of doing that with the multiverse now, right? Like Sylvie has that great line that he basically bought us some time, right? And that's like Loki realized that like there was no real winning for them, like nothing that they could do. He had to step up and do that, or else there wouldn't be a TVA, and none of that. And it was either he make that hard choice now to save everyone and save that, or it just everything keeps to fail. Like, so it's like he was almost doomed, but he chose to make that choice at the same time. It was such a great finale. And I think visually speaking, it was incredibly beautiful.
Yes.
Like, like that was like the CGI looked great. The world tree looked great. Like all the colors and everything, him taking the dying timelines and turning them green with his magic and everything. Like,
you know what? I just thinking about this, that last episode and maybe this whole project, but certainly that last episode, it was almost as perfect as it can get, wasn't it?
Like, almost too perfect.
It was, wasn't it? I'm trying to everything we've said, we're like, the acting was good, the characters were good, the scenes were good, the CGI was good, the story was good, the writing was good, the pacing was good, and you're like, was anything bad? I'm trying to think of anything that I didn't like about it, and I thought it was all excellent.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it would be hard to say. I almost wanted to like stand up and give this a standing ovation after watching. Like I think like it deserved like a round of applause for like 5 minutes, because like I thought it was like such a great ending, but like I didn't expect them to kind of have Mobius just be like, all right, I'm done, I'm going away and I'm gonna go like live back. I thought after that conversation he had with Loki earlier, he was going to basically pull one of those, like, I'll work with the TVA and just come back and forth. And Hunter B-15 makes like a remark about if you ever want to come back and be in the war room, you're always welcome, Mobius. Yep. Basically gives him that out. And it seems like people are going to leave and remember everything that happened, and they're not going to have their minds erased and everything like that. And, it seems like it was almost one of these impossible situations where the multiverse had to have everything pruned because the loom was a failsafe, and in the midst of it breaking, it was just doomed to create all these branches. And this is definitely like a battle of free will versus destiny.
Yeah.
And this was Loki trying to give everybody the ability to have free will when he has no other choice but to accept that destiny of sitting on that throne and holding it all together. So I thought that was really awesome.
Now, do you think they want us to think this was too perfect because this could have been He Remains planned the entire time? Like, this was some trick. Like, I still think there's trickery going on here. The same thing with Quantum Mania, the same thing here. I think there's some trickery going on here, and they think that, they want us to think that was so perfect, and this was all resolved, but yet they're still lingering out there. And another thing, too, they did have the Quantum Mania reference in there as well about the 616 adjacent variant that took care of himself. And interesting, too, these are all He Who Remains variants. They're not Kang variants. They're calling them.
Yeah, I definitely think that there were some tests that he had put up. I think he mentions it in the episode. He's like something along the lines of like, this was basically all kind of put into motion. We have another one of those, like, remember I paved the road lines for you kind of type of thing. Yeah. I felt like all of this, like even the time jumping and everything that Loki had done, all of that was part of He Who Remains plan. Like it was almost like he knew that Loki was going to appear in front of him at one point because he just kind of stopped Sylvie and it's like, so how many times have you done this? Like, and he's just like, he realized that something was different, something was off. And
what does he say when just before Sylvie's going to kill He Who Remains in this season finale of episodes? Does he say like, see you in a minute or see you soon?
See you soon.
They have
that off scene that happens so many times when she keeps killing him, and you hear like the sword going, and it's just like see you soon.
And that again, soon is that I reckon that's to do with that. Yeah, that 100% to do with that. Great TV, great entertainment. Really, really well done. Where are we going next? Are we seeing the TVA be involved in hunting down the Kangs, and is it going to be the TVA that are going to go out to the Avengers and recruit different Avengers from different timelines or from wherever and say, look, you don't really, and they're going to go, Loki sent us, and they're going to be like, Loki, Loki's a villain, like
why is it a trick?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
I guess Deadpool 3 will probably answer a lot of questions about that. I think that's going to be the next project that's going to kind of keep things going more. I don't think anything else that we'll see in between there will do anything else.
No.
I feel like the TVA is going to shift from like pruning, branches from the sacred timeline and everything to allowing timelines to have free will. But people from other timelines that try and manipulate or change things are going to be on the radar, hence Deadpool. In Deadpool 3, and that would be one of those things. He's going back, changing stuff, creating branches and stuff like that, causing issues. But I would think that he might be like somebody like Kang, where they're going to hunt down Kang variants. And I imagine as we get closer to Kang Dynasty, let's pretend that the multiversal war starts to happen and the multiverse does start to collapse. Maybe Loki's holding on to those branches and suddenly they all start to die and he can't stop it. And so then he goes out, he starts pulling people, and I would love to see him like go and meet Thor and see Thor again, and like Thor not believe that Loki's actually alive again, and them have that moment, and him just go across the multiverse. And yeah, I think that would be awesome. But you still have so much more story I feel like you can tell between that and what's happening right now.
I think they'll more start to prune anyone who exposes them or makes them known to the He Remains variants, because there's that line that B-15 said about new variants of He Remains don't know about them yet, don't know about the new TVA yet.
Yeah.
And plus they were able to reboot Miss Minutes and have Miss Minutes again. I also wonder if Miss Minutes will be another factor again. Well, she might be able to, her other consciousness or other programming kick back in and then go back and find a He Who Remains variant to get things going as well. We have some chat stuff here. Following up to the history stuff that Natasha Podblast was talking about, Disney has a no tobacco policy in place since 2015 in Marvel and Star Wars projects, but an empty ashtray would not violate that policy if no nasty sick butts or ashes were seen. I nitpick. Also says love King Loki or long live King Loki. A question for us here: do you fellas collect 3 Marvel comic books? I collect some, not much anymore, but everything I mostly read is on Marvel Unlimited. How about you two?
Yeah, I mean, I've got tons of random collections of comics, Marvel and DC, and I read Marvel Unlimited. I've kind of haven't read anything here recently, but yeah, I've got some long and short boxes filled with tons of comics in a closet, and I have so many, like, I've Young Avengers to, events to all kinds of random stuff, so I don't tend to really read stuff in order, though. I'm kind of all over the place. Like,
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, I bounce around so much.
I'll be scrolling through Marvel Unlimited. I'll find something like, oh, I want to read that again, and then start reading some random storyline before I find something else to move on to. Or unless we're talking about something, then I'm gonna go back and reread something, just to refresh myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I was little, I had tons and tons of comics. Got rid of them all, as most people do, and I don't actually collect comics now, but I've got quite a substantial collection of graphic novels that are sitting up on my.
Oh, that's right.
Shelf. I would show you, but it means moving my camera, and I won't be able to get it back into place. But I've probably got the equivalent of, I don't know, maybe 2,000 comics sitting up on those shelves, probably. So yeah, read quite a lot. I think between the 3 of us, we've probably read everything. I wouldn't say we know everything. Definitely know everything, but between the 3 of us, we've probably read a little bit of everything and got a little bit of knowledge around it. So yeah.
The next comment here from Natasha Podblast. Maybe I'm slow, but I found the story a bit confusing. Thanks for breaking it all down. You're welcome. That's what we're trying to here to do, is just to talk about it and have a conversation and help anyone who has questions or wants to add to the conversation as well.
Cool.
And let me just throw out one more thing. Man, did it feel like God of Stories Loki in this. Like, I know I've been saying that for a while, but like, it just felt like such just so much from that line at the end of the 5th episode to this. Like, it was like Loki's like gonna basically write the multiverse and like try and hold it all together and everything. And yeah, I guess he's not really gonna be changing stuff per se, but it did feel very much like God of Stories Loki.
Yeah, for sure.
Another comment here from Podblast. I read that due to writers and actors strikes, that only one Marvel movie will be released in 2024. Is that true? Deadpool 3 is slated right now to be the only project, and we'll talk about the upcoming schedule here when we get to the news.
Any closing thoughts on Loki? I think we've kind of spoke about where we think we're going to see him again, probably in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars. But any closing thoughts on him?
I do wonder if we'll see any of the same TVA members or a different TVA person in Deadpool 3. We definitely know TVA is going to be a part of that because we see the Void and that kind of stuff. I wonder if we'll have any Loki cameo in here at all. Miss Minutes, one of those sort of things. There's back and forth if Mobius will be in there or not. I've heard mixed things about that. So I'm interested to see how Deadpool 3 ties and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Any closing thoughts on Loki, Alex?
Honestly, I don't think I have anything. I mean, I thought it was a fantastic Marvel show, one of the best that we've probably had this far. I would give that ending like a 10 out of 10. I absolutely adored it, like I thought it was great. This season, I don't think some of the other episodes were as good as season 1, but overall, I think this entire series is phenomenal, and it was great, and I loved all the new characters that they brought in this season. Obi, was a great one. That was a great additional character, and I was really sad because I saw a video of him and he was talking about how much he enjoyed being that character and being in this season and everything like that. And I was just like, man, that's kind of sounding like we won't see you in Deadpool 3 or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it was just a really good show and great written, pacing was really good in that final episode, and I can't stop singing his praises.
And we've got to stop somewhere singing his praises because we've got other stuff to talk about. So let's move on to that now.
One last thing here from the Project Pod Blast. Loki could bring back Tony Stark and Gamora. Gamora's kind of already back, kind of established there from Endgame and then Guardians 3. But yeah, he could pluck a Tony Stark from another timeline to bring him back. Same thing with Black Widow. So yeah.
Let's move on, because that is a conversation that could take up a whole another half an hour on its own. So what have we got in the news, Joe?
Strike news. After 118 days on strike, the SAG-AFTRA officially reached a tentative agreement on a new 3-year contract with studios. The strike ended on November 9th. A tentative deal went to the SAG-AFTRA board on November 10th for review and consideration. So it is over. They got their AI considerations that they're looking for, and things are already back in full steam. Deadpool 3 is going to start filming right after Thanksgiving, or right before Thanksgiving, they said. They're wanting to get that out next year and not delay it any further. So via deadline, Deadpool 3, Gladiator 2, Beetlejuice 2, and Venom 3 among films to start productions ASAP, or to restart production ASAP.
It goes to show how important Deadpool 3 is to this overarching story, doesn't it? That they've kept that one where it is and pushed Brave New World and Thunderbolts back to 2025. They've kind of gone, actually, we need to get this one out and done.
Yep.
Because this is how important it is. So I think that throws a lot of weight at it, actually.
Yeah. So Variety is the one that reported that Deadpool 3 will resume filming before Thanksgiving. Venom 3 is still coming out next year in 2024, but it's delayed from July 12th to November 8th. So right now, that's 2 Marvel projects next year that are on the slate, and I'll get to the full schedule here later. But also, it says other films eyeing early 2024 start or for 2025 release, or no release date set yet, is Tron 3 is going to start filming again in 2024, or start production. Minecraft movie coming out starring Jason Momoa, 2024 production. Yeah, I don't know, that was out of nowhere when I saw that. Mortal Kombat 2, Superman Legacy, and Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Sorry, just Jason Momoa with a square head, just in Minecraft.
The Brave and the Bold is still in early development, with Andy Muschietti now focusing on completing his It prequel Max series, Welcome to Derry. So
cool.
Yeah,
he's all guns blazing. They're going for it, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep. Disney and Hulu Plus, or sorry, Disney Plus and Hulu. They're going to have a single app experience. There's going to be a beta that's going to begin next month with full launch in the spring. In December, we will launch in beta form a combined Disney Plus and Hulu app. We feel great about how the combination gives us an ability to essentially lower customer acquisition costs, reduce marketing, hopefully reduce churn, and most importantly, create more engagement. So single platform. Remember, we talked about this and discussed this when we heard about the whole thing with the Disney changing the streaming stuff, and now it's coming to fruition where they're going to a single platform, it looks like, or a single app experience.
So will it be Disney Plus or will it be Hulu?
I don't know.
Disney,
I guess we'll find out. Yeah,
Disney, Hulu, probably.
We'll find out when it goes into beta next month. Also, Disney is in talks to license certain titles to Netflix. So it looks like they're branching out the content as well. But that begs the question is, then what's the point of Disney Plus? And I guess Disney Plus will be if you want it right away and then watch it on Netflix later if you can wait. I don't know. That sounds kind of odd to me, but what are you guys' thoughts on that?
It sounds like the beginning of Disney buying Netflix. Is what it sounds to me.
I mean, like, honestly, I think that this is kind of like Iger's doing, I think that he had mentioned this in an interview I watched with him speaking one time, where he was basically like, we had kind of moved away from that idea of like licensing our stuff out to be like on cable networks and stuff like that, to kind of put it on the platform. And I think that they realized that they can make and bring in a lot more revenue for these projects if they actually license it out again. So I think, you'll get early access to it on Disney Plus, and that's going to be the selling point. But then after 5-6 months, you'll see cable networks and stuff with a lot of this stuff. Probably not the Marvel TV shows, but more the Marvel movies and stuff like that. I think there's a lot to be made for that can go into their pockets and go into the studio and everything. So I feel like that may have been seen as a missed opportunity by him and maybe some of the higher ups at Disney, where once they kind of consolidated to the streaming service, they felt like they were missing out on a revenue stream there. So they're kind of just going right back to the older ways, you know?
I'm missing out on exposure as well. I mean, yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, I can't remember the last time I saw a Marvel movie that wasn't on Disney Plus. Yeah, it must have been years ago. I don't even remember when there was one on television.
I see them on regular TV through Hulu Live TV. There's on different channels, like usually TBS or one of those other stations will have
TNT or
yeah,
something
TNT.
like that.
They'll play on there, but I think the only thing we've seen Marvel wise on Netflix has been Sony stuff.
Yeah, and I mean,
Right
like,
now.
for me, like, you know, like, as I'm somebody that, you know, like, I'm flipping channels on cable and I stop and I see a Marvel movie, I'm going to stop and watch it for a little while.
Same.
And I think that's kind of like the trick with that, right? Like, it's like you accidentally stumble upon it, you sit down and you watch it. And I think with a lot of that kind of stuff, like, that's how you get more viewers and stuff. And, you know, a lot of those networks, they pay a lot of money to have those big time movies on there because they can sell, like, advertisement with commercials and things like that between on the movies being there. So. Yeah.
So Kevin Feige was on the red carpet. He was like the only one for the Marvels last week because of the strike. And which is sad about the strike is that the strike pretty much ended the day after the Marvels premiere, so we couldn't see any of that stuff done. But now you're seeing Loki for season 2 promotion going out there with Tom Hiddleston doing the rounds. Brie Larson is, Iman Vannelli is. So we're seeing that, and hopefully we'll see more of it. You know. Maybe this movie, and this will also about the Marvels, is that maybe it'll go the Elemental route, where it started off slow, but then gained a lot of traction later. I'm hoping we'll see the same thing with the Marvels now that they can actually promote the film with the actors in it. But he was asked about the rumor about the Fallen Heroes coming back to Marvel. He said they haven't discussed it. Said RDJ was part of the family. They're working on another project with ScarJo at the moment. When asked if it was open to them returning, said, we'll see. About the rumor, he said, I literally have not seen it. We did discuss that at the retreat is the truth. Because they said this retreat that happened, this where it was discussed. And he's saying, no, it didn't discuss. So he kind of shot down that whole thing. It seems like the more we have things come out, that whole Variety article is just definitely a hit piece. And it seemed like someone was bored, had nothing else to do that day.
Yeah, just making stuff up just to create a bit of commotion.
Gwyneth Paltrow says she would come out of retirement for acting if RDJ asked her. So if he comes back and he's like, I need Pepper for this film, she's in, it sounds like. So also too, Kevin Feige was asked about Harry Styles' Arrow Star Fox again. He said he's excited. We're excited. We will see you introduce a lot of new characters in a lot of movies and get a lot of tags. Where do the tag folk reappear? That's a good question. So it sounds like, you know, seems like they want things faster, right? It took us Thanos 7 years before we actually got Thanos through that tease from Age of Ultron and from Avengers to actually finally appear in a movie. So it's going to take some time. It seems like people want things faster than in the past, but a lot of these big tags that we've seen in post-credit stuff have taken time to build up.
That's just indicative of culture in general, though, isn't it? You know, with Amazon Prime, you know, getting something delivered the next day or the same day.
Yeah,
you know, having food brought to your door by you know, somebody because you just clicked on an app, and we're so it's an instant culture, isn't it? We want payoff now. We don't want, you know, short form media as well. You know, these 5-second, 10-second videos on different social media platforms. It's just not, it's not breeding a culture of patience. It's breeding a culture of I must have this thing now. So, you know, you see Eros at the end of Eternals, and it's like, why is there not a whole movie about him? Like, well, they kind of started doing that, and then everyone started complaining that there was too much stuff. So, you know, where's the balance?
Mm-hmm. He also confirmed X-Men 97 will premiere next year.
Cool.
So he said, I saw some new final episodes today, which really bring it back to the core of who the X-Men are in that soap opera that those characters represent. So he confirmed that. He also talked about on if X-Men in live action MCU was asked about that, and he actually responded to that question. It's super exciting, but X-Men are as solid and rich and a great concept and characters as exist. In live action, people will see perhaps soon.
Hmm.
Ooh. Yeah.
Fu-
um,
funny thing. I just want to throw out there. I've been listening to the X-Men audio drama on Spotify. I listened to it
Okay.
while I was driving across North Carolina the other day, and yeah, like it was, I believe, made by somebody that originally wanted to make like a cartoon, an X-Men cartoon, and didn't get to, but he made this audio drama, and like it's awesome. Like it's like a great little thing to listen to get excited before that comes out, because it's pretty long. I think it's like at least maybe like 12 episodes or something like that. I could be wrong, but yeah, I listened to one on the Vanisher the other day, one on Juggernaut, like all
nice.
kinds of stuff. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Check it out.
I'll have to check that out. Is it Spotify?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's I think it's called X-Men the audio drama.
Okay.
So
Is that like licensed by Marvel? Is it because is it on Marvel's podcasts? Sort of, they've got a page, haven't they, where they've done the Wastelanders and all of that. Is it on there, or is it just randomly? Are you looking for it now? Is that I think that's what you're doing, isn't it?
yeah,
There it is.
Let's do it. Yeah, so it looks like it is
Joey's like, I might look for it as well. You're all looking for it.
like 11 episodes. Yeah, I think it is probably Marvel. I don't think this is like a fan made kind
I've
of
got
thing or any, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got it. By Carl Dutton, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the audio drama, X-Men audio.
Yeah, I found it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it.
Stuff. But yeah, I mean it's kind of like the adventures of the Uncanny X-Men. It's kind of cool. It's got Magneto and Charles Xavier building up the X-Men and the Brotherhood and everything like that. Like one of the ones that I listened to had Charles Xavier getting the Blackbird plane to replace a helicopter that he had them flying around on, and it was like they go out on a mission and they get in the Blackbird for the first time and take off, and Beast is flying it and everything like that. And they do some really cool stuff with the sound effects and everything like that. I feel like to really paint a good picture, to not have the visuals that go with the audio for that. So they do a really good job. So definitely check that out.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I got that on my list too. What If news? In a press release, Disney Plus has confirmed the season 2 of What If will premiere this holiday season. A date hasn't been specified yet, though. There's a new synopsis too for the season. The Watcher continues the journey as our guide through the vast multiverse, introducing brand new and familiar faces throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The animated anthology series questions, revisits, and twists classic Marvel cinematic moments with an incredible voice cast that includes a host of stars who reprise their iconic roles. And it's confirmed that Elizabeth Olsen will voice Wanda Maximoff in the series. So,
decent. I'm really looking forward to that, actually. Like, I'm probably looking forward to What If Season 2 more than I was looking forward to What If Season 1 because of What If Season 1.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I enjoyed the season 1, so now I'm looking forward to this one. So yeah, cool.
And it's nice too. We're getting into the holidays because there is the episode that Happy Hogan saves Christmas or whatever. So there you go.
Yeah, and I mean, in What If, we saw the introduction of absolute points and things like that in time, and I mean, like, I feel like that kind of fits into a lot of stuff that's going on and everything, and even though it's a little bit different, I mean, like, that Doctor Strange episode was fantastic. I absolutely loved that episode, and the Marvel Zombies episode was pretty good, too. I wish we didn't have to see Tony Stark die, like, 7 times in all those episodes, but, it is what it is, but, yeah.
Deadpool 3 news. Via Danner RPK, Blade is rumored to appear, although it's unclear which version. So we don't know if it's going to be Wesley Snipes, if it's going to be Mahershala Ali. My guess is going to be, since it's the Fox stuff, it's probably going to be Wesley Snipes.
Huh. Would he come back, you think, for that? Or
maybe,
like, would that be like something that they would probably like edit part of like an old movie or something, kind of have him in the background or something?
Yeah, good question. From the chat here, this is Ali HS, a new one here. No need to waste Tony's death in Endgame, but Gamora's kind of back, a part of the MCU. So it's probably in reference to bringing old characters back, I bet, in live action.
I mean, with like Gamora, we know that one version of her is still kind of with the I cannot think of the name of the group, the Ravagers. Thank you. You know, at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so you know she's still kind of out there. If they do want to do something with her, you know.
Ryan Reynolds via social media confirms Dogpool and keeping Dogpool's appearance, and they're keeping summer 2024 release. He said, "Did Dogpool save the day? Not a chance in Gremlin hell, but she is currently causing the Disney Plus-y merch department nightmares. Coming with the movie summer 2024." So there you go.
They need to make some stuffed dogs of that, you know, like to sell in like Disney stores or something. That would be absolutely
Build
awesome.
a bear.
Yeah,
I want a Funko of it.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome.
A flocked Funko with a little funny hair. That's what I want.
Back on the Gamora conversation, the Nostalgic Pod Blast, I like the original Gamora who was warming up to Quill Star-Lord, but it seems like she might be turning a leaf over than the other one, as we saw at the end of Guardians 3, so something to definitely keep an eye on as things go forward.
She was so hardened, wasn't she? This Gamora, like the Gamora that we've got now, compared to the other one, she like softened right up, and we'd just gone back to that hard Gamora that we saw at the beginning of the first Guardians movie. I quite like this hardened Gamora, this sort of, you know, no BS Gamora. I like this version.
I love the Gamora and Nebula relationship right now too as well. The whole grunt thing when they see each other.
Typical siblings.
So we have a question about the Marvels, and I'll just answer it real quick. LAHS, have you guys watched the Marvels? Yes, we have. We will be doing the Marvels review probably same time next Monday right now is the plan for it. So join us next week and we will talk about the Marvels, but we're not going to talk about the Marvels today. Also, too, it's reportedly that Deadpool 3 is the most important project for Marvel Studios alongside the upcoming Avengers films. So there you go. Yep. That's why this one's the one making the slate for next year out of all the MCU movies. Blade news. Director Jan Dimanche confirms Blade will be rated R in an interview with Deadline. He said it has been in development as a rated R film for at least the better part of a year. He said, "They gave me the R, which is so important. We're going to have fun because Mahershala is such a deep actor. I'm excited to show a kind of ruthlessness, a roughness he has that allows him to walk the earth in a particular way." So
I feel like R was kind of expected for that movie, you know, like that movie almost has to be kind of rated R, you know.
Yeah, I'm a new subscriber too. LHS says, "Dope, just subscribe." Thank you. So next week we'll have that conversation. We can chat away about the Marvels. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for the sub. Just back to Alex. I mean, it's vampires, isn't it? You know, vampires, just generally speaking, need to be, you know, scary and gory and, you know, so
bloody.
Yeah.
So almost regardless of the setting, like where the vampires are appearing, it's gonna be a certain level of content, isn't it? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Glad to hear, especially with all the BS out there about Blade, that things are steaming ahead and it's rated R, and it sounds like that new director is pretty good too from everything I've been reading. So
cool.
Some Children's Crusade news. Reportedly, the Wiccan Children's Crusade spinoff will be about Billy trying to find Tommy, and so there is the rumor about Billy and Agatha and the way they're going to do it. And so that's good because we're going to need them for some future stuff in the MCU. And that's all I'll say about that today.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
At a later date.
Yeah.
That's interesting though. The twist there. Billy trying to find Tommy rather than the two of them trying to find their mum.
Well, the mother, yeah. And the whole Doom angle and the whole team and that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely a nice spin on that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I really enjoyed that story as well. Actually, the Children's Crusade story. I thought that was excellent. In fact, I've enjoyed quite a lot of the Young Avengers stuff, if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those in live action. Yeah, cool.
Daredevil Born Again, via The Wrap, directors Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead say they're on day 0 of developing the series. we're currently just consuming Daredevil content, not just the Netflix show, but all the possible material. We're just making our stew of information nice and thick. So that's interesting.
Doing their research then.
Yep. Back to formula.
Yeah, that was it. It's just screw it all up, throw it again, start.
Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So today there's a slew of news that came out that everyone kept taking this as Kang Dynasty is not going to happen and that they're completely moving away from Kang. But the usual people that I follow that are more trustworthy with this stuff said no, they're not dealing with Kang Dynasty, but it does sound like the rumor is going around that Jeff Loveless is no longer attached to Kang Dynasty. So, and
give it to Michael Baldwin.
Well, here you go. So then later on, after all this hustle through the news came out, there's some new things that came out. Kevin Wright, the producer from Loki, says that Michael Waldron is working on both upcoming Avengers films. He also mentions how much Waldron loves these worlds, Kang and the multiversal worlds, as he helped create them. But also, there are more news that came out that said they don't know who's actually going to helm this yet, but there's been some people who have spoken up and saying they're interested. Hold on, let's see this real quick. LHS has a comment here. Loki was so good, maybe the best MCU Disney Plus show. The writer is about to cook hard with Daredevil Born Again. Yep, I really agree. Yep, good shout there. But then later on today, it's been reported that Moon Knight and Loki Season 2 directors Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead expressed interest in directing Avengers Secret Wars. Moorhead, you know what's funny is we come from independent feature film, so we come from movies. Benson, we never know what the future holds. We just try to keep up. So, yeah.
Yeah,
we could be getting some more news and directors for those movies soon. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say I don't really know enough about their extended work to be able to comment on them. But obviously, with the work that was done on Loki season 2, and the writing there, I'd be happy to see more of their stuff.
They were also on season 1 too. Remember, Waldron left Loki, and they finished Loki season 1 because Waldron went over to Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
So they actually finished up Loki season 1 too as well.
Which Multiverse Madness watched last night before, last night maybe.
Fantastic movie.
So good, so good. What don't get me wrong, and I said this last week, and I'll say it again. I know there's been some stuff that has not been up to scratch or up to the the level that we expect from the MCU and from Marvel recently. But even some of the bad stuff isn't terrible. But there's been a lot of good stuff. Like Multiverse of Madness was so good. I rewatched it again and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think that movie's really hard to tell who's the real star of that movie, because Strange is great in that movie, but Wanda's fantastic in that movie. So, it's like, even as a villain, like, I'm kind of rooting for her watching that movie, it's funny. And it has so much rewatchability, I think, too.
Totally. And Wanda gets better throughout the movie. Like, I didn't really like her performance at the beginning, but when she goes and what's it called? Dreamwalks. When she dreamwalks into the other one, that's just superb. Just absolutely superb.
And that whole sequence with Patrick Stewart and Professor X, the whole thing and the mind trick and
brilliant. And the whole bit at the end as well, like the ending when she sees the kids, is just brilliant acting from Elizabeth Olsen. Really
I love how they visualize like her being corrupted by the Darkhold with like the dark fingertips, just like Agatha, and like her costume even had like dark patches and dark spots in it and everything like that all the way around, like change from WandaVision and everything. And even the moments like where she killed Professor X and she looks like a demon, when she does it, like it's just so awesome. It was like, dude, like she's like a monster,
And it has really many good. Sorry, Alex, I had to cut you off there. It has so many good little horror moments in there as well, and pulling from all different sort of types of horror movies as well. You get the sort of more, freaky modern stuff like The Ring, when she's crawling through the mirror. But you get the sort of old school horror stuff as well, with the funny camera angles and the zooming in and zooming out, and the sort of I think it was excellent, really, really well done. So we really enjoyed that movie. Anyway, I've digressed a little bit. Back to you, Joe.
But also makes you wonder too, when is America Chavez going to pop back up again?
She's going to be key to this multiverse thing. I think after watching that movie again, I'm like, she's going to be absolutely key to this.
Yeah. Fantastic Four news. Jake Gyllenhaal is rumored to be Marvel's top choice for Reed Richards. With the strike over, full steam ahead for casting Fantastic Four. Now, have you guys seen the mocks that Boss Logic has done from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Now, granted, I know that a lot of that is, this humor and that kind of stuff, but the mock-up of Glenn Howerton as Reed Richards, that is fire. Like, I would love to see, out of all the casting of them, I would love to see Glenn Howerton and get a role like that.
You know what? The vibe that I got from that whole mock-up, and when you see all four of them, I was like, I'd probably watch that.
Yeah.
I was like, that looks really cool. Like the things like attitude, I was like, I like that. He's like a little vest top that is all torn sleeves and stuff. That whole thing looked really cool. I mean, I don't know It's Only Sunny very well. I've seen bits and pieces of it.
It's a great show.
Yeah, I've never really got into it, but I liked it. I thought it was cool.
From the chat here, all AHS, I loved Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, so entertaining, but the last scene with the white-haired lady felt odd. It would have been better if it ended with a third eye appearing. Oh, with Clea, yeah. So that whole thing with Clea, but it does take you kind of full circle back to the first Doctor Strange, because Clea is Dormammu's niece. Her mom is his sister, and, with him doing all the stuff, it looks like he could destabilize the Dark Dimension as well, so they are playing on some stuff there. And also, too, if you read The Death of Doctor Strange, she does become the new Sorcerer Supreme as well. So I love that she showed up. Yeah. What's that?
Certainly setting up a third movie.
Yep. I would love to see more Clea and get Clea come to the MCU. And there was room for a long time that's who Christine could have came, or that could have been her variant of her for Rachel McAdams. But I love they brought Clea in. I'm not sure if I love the casting choice right now, though. So, anyways, moving on. Brave New World. Jeff Snyder reported there's a rumor via the Hot Mic podcast, which then this picked up steam last week. Hearing Captain America Brave New World is moving to 2025 after it didn't do great in a test screening, and that 3 sequences are being cut with reshoots planned from January until May/June. That's like 6 months of reshoots, and these must be some pretty key sequences. Now, there's some rumors out there about this test script going around that people saw it and that it's a wildly outrageous one. Yeah. Don't believe that, because there's some things in there that are widely inaccurate, and if they've seen things like Falcon the Winter Soldier or other MCU projects, they wouldn't have these blanks in there. So that seems very big, like someone's imagination. Similar to the person who made it making up the Deadpool 3 script, was it? That got debunked. So, but yeah. So interesting to see here how they're going to do things, especially we know that with Harrison Ford's getting up there in age, and that it took a lot for him to film The Dial of Destiny. But I'd rather them get this right, and now that the strike's over, because remember the pretty much all this film was filmed during the writer's strike, so they couldn't do any rewrites, they couldn't do any changes, and that's why I think that's why they're doing this now, because now the writer's strike's over, they can go through and correct things, and then go ahead and make this a good movie. So I'm not surprised that it's being delayed a year. So,
and with that whole rumor of Harrison Ford, Ross being Red Hulk, like they could totally just turn him into Red Hulk and just leave him as CGI Red Hulk, and boom. Like he can stay Red Hulk for the rest of the time, and he doesn't have to turn back into Ross for everybody to know that he's Ross. He can just tell somebody that he's Ross, I think, and we can just do that thing where we have him just Red Hulk all the time, and I think that would be great. Keep him around forever.
Via Ali here, HS, it's so funny to imagine Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk. The edits crack me up. Oh, the face edits where you see his face on the Red Hulk.
Get off my plane.
Yeah. Elsa Bloodstone news. According to Daniel RPK, an Elsa Bloodstone project is in the works. Now, This does make sense, especially with we just saw Wear It by Night. They did the whole color thing with it. They're doing the whole orchestra presentations. And now that we have Marvel Spotlight area, they could actually do a lot more stuff with that and these characters to kind of continue that story. They could even do the MonsterVerse in its own section of the MCU for now and not need to cross over at all. Maybe Blade, introduce Ghost Rider, bring in Topaz, Jennifer Kale, get that Man-Thing project out there. All kinds of things they can do with that. So
Definitely.
So now we're to the update release schedule that I talked about earlier. So here's what's going to happen. Deadpool 3 is now going to be July 26, 2024. Captain America New World Order will be February 14th, 2025. Thunderbolts will be July 25th, 2025. Blade will be November 7th, 2025. But also, too, 2025, we're going to have potentially 5 films because right now Fantastic Four still sits at May 2nd, 2025.
Wow.
MCU-wise, 1 film for 2024, but Marvel-wise, Venom 3 is still going to hit theaters 2024. So if we look at 2025 and 2026, they'll both have 4 films at this time. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2025 and 20... No, sorry. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3. 2024 will have 5 films at this time. Possibly a 6th film with Spider-Man 4 film being rumored for 2025 as well. 2026 will have 4 Marvel films. So
that's a lot of films. Is there any news on any shows? I know that Wonder Man was sort of rumored and sort of was sort of going around, but is that happening?
I haven't heard much. I haven't heard anything about shows right now, but we still have Wonder Man out there. We still have Ironheart. We still have... What else do we have? Ironheart's done, pretty much.
2024, we'll have Echo and the X-Men 97, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Agatha 2 as well, still 2024, isn't it?
Right.
I think the fall of 2024 is still Agatha. So I haven't heard anything change about shows yet. I just know that Ironheart is still tied to Armor Wars. So we won't see that probably till 2026, probably.
I
Possibly.
feel like the shows have to shift if they're shifting all these movies. I mean, like, I feel like the shows kind of play into the movies now, so, like, we've almost got to have some change in the shows, unless they just aren't as plot-dependent.
Yeah, I'm
as
trying to...
movies
Yeah.
are, you know?
Right now, the only show that really is movie-dependent, that was Ironheart, which that's going to be following whatever Armor Wars comes out. Right now, none of the shows really are, unless they make some... Unless for some reason Echo shows up in Thunderbolts or... I don't know.
I mean, Miss Marvel and WandaVision kind of, like, built up to the Marvels
Yeah.
and stuff, so, like, they have done it before. I just kind of, like, I don't know, like, I get, like, you can kind of just lightly kind of touch on things and move forward, but I almost feel like, we kind of see projects get delayed even over the minor stuff now, the minor little connections, because they're so almost, like, important to the overall story, so...
Nostalgia Podcast, thanks for listening. They say thanks for the show, fella. So thank you for joining us. See you next week, hopefully. And then Deadpool 3 will now release on the 11th year anniversary of the Wolverine. Just random fact there. Kevin Feige Star Wars movie. So he also addressed that during the Marvel's Red Carpet. When he was asked, he simply answered no. It's not happening, pretty much. So...
Okay.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It's going to be reportedly 2 hours and 4 minutes. So
that's a nice runtime.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Beetle will be streaming on the Max on November 17th. So you have pretty much a couple days, and you can watch Blue Beetle again on the Max.
Cool. I haven't seen it once yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Oh, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah,
I've seen it twice.
I think that movie really did well in the fact of, like, they didn't know if it was going to be, like, pre the DC change or after, and it was just kind of like, just put it in its own little spot and don't really worry about connecting, like, really, like, they have some little references to other things, but it's not, like, I feel like major plot connections to really, like, anything that's currently happening before or after, like... So I think it's a good little movie for that, like, you don't really have to care where it falls in the timeline, in my opinion. So
nice.
Superman Legacy. James Gunn confirms that Superman Legacy will not be pushed in a special message thanking the crew via social media. He says, thanks to the efforts of our talented crew who never lost faith during the longest strikes in Hollywood history and who never let their foot off the pedal, continuing to barrel forward, creating the most amazing character and set designs I've seen in my entire career. Superman Legacy will be making the originally planned release date of July 2025. So,
You excited about that one, Alex?
Superman Legacy. Unfortunately, I'm not the biggest Superman fan. Although I will say what is exciting is all the other characters that they've talked about being in that movie. Like, I think Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl. I'm more excited about, like, all the other additional characters. I think, like, some of the characters that have been rumored to be in that movie makes me almost feel like it's a Justice League movie and not a Superman movie, you know? But, like, it is what it is. I think they're trying to set up a lot of like characters, and I think the arrival of Superman is going to be one of those things in the DC world with Superman Legacy, where it's going to be like he's such a powerful being, everybody's going to kind of be like, who is this guy? And it's going to kind of like set up alarms. Like everybody's going to be like so alarmed that this incredibly powerful person just appears out of nowhere and is like doing all these amazing feats and everything. And I feel like that's why you'll probably see all these other characters kind of like coming to kind of figure out who he is most likely. But yeah, I'll definitely probably watch it at some point. I am, I'm interested to see what they do with all those other characters, to be honest, more than Superman. So
I like your language there, though. I'll definitely probably watch it.
unless my son wants to see it right away, I'll probably wait until it comes on streaming.
Yeah. I think, like, we've talked about the other Superman show, Superman and Lois, recently. Like, that is such a good show. Like, I just happened to watch that because Tyler Hoechlin was in Supergirl. I used to watch Supergirl, and then he was in Crisis of Infinite Earths and all that stuff. You kind of had this little thing where he kept going, and I really liked his Clark Kent. And yeah, so I think we're kind of just, and I want to see Brainiac as a villain. I don't think we're going to see Brainiac in that movie, but, like, I'm just like, somebody just please make a Superman movie with Brainiac as the villain, please, So, waiting for
Isn't it strange? You just said there about Tyler Hoechlin and you really liked his Clark Kent. And it's been said many times before that a lot of people really like, like Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. And isn't it funny how we can like, so with superheroes who have got secret identities or the two identities, isn't it funny how we can like one of their identities or like them as the hero or like them as their city identity, but like not like them for both or like prefer one over the other. Like they're not. It's not just they play that character. It's they play that side of that character really well, isn't it? It's funny how that they don't go hand in hand all the time.
Yeah, I feel like when you have characters like Spider-Man with like dual identities, Peter Parker or Spider-Man, for instance, like it's like I love Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, but I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. And, like I know that's weird, but it's like, there was nothing wrong with, Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, but I like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man better. I think he looks better in the suit. I feel like he said some funny lines and stuff like that, And I felt like he just wasn't really nerdy enough for me as Peter Parker, like I didn't really get the vibes like he's like skateboarding and stuff like that. And I'm like, this just doesn't really feel like Peter Parker to me. Like, so like I get what they kind of like tried to do, but like, it's one of those things like that's the hardest part for me with Tom Holland is I feel like Tom Holland's kind of like a balance of the previous Spider-Man before. I don't really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I know that's kind of controversial, but I mean, that's just my opinion. I really like Tobey as Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. So
yeah, I like Tom Holland more, I think, as Peter Parker. I think they got that side of Tom Holland's character better than actual Spider-Man, but I definitely Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I just can't get past that dance.
the Tobey Maguire dance. Yeah. Oh, man.
I'm also not the biggest Tobey Maguire fan either, so.
What was Garfield Spider-Man's line? Oh no, small knives, my greatest weakness.
Yeah. And I think that unfortunately I think the Spider-Man third movie for Tobey Maguire kind of wasn't what it was really set out to be. I think that kind of like really hurt, that franchise. And I almost am kind of glad that Andrew Garfield didn't get a third movie because like I felt like it may have not been as great as the previous two Andrew Garfield movies with maybe like the directions and stuff they were talking about. But
Well-
for them to all three be in Tom Holland's third movie, I thought that was, as much as I don't really like plan to ever rewatch that movie, I thought it was really good what they kind of did there, and it's like, very cool to see all of them on screen together,
But Garfield's was the closest we were going to come to the Sinister Six, though, it seemed like on screen, because they were teasing that setup. They had the whole room of suits they had there.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, if they would have brought the Rhino back in his Amazing Spider-Man 3, it wouldn't have been mechanical. It would have been an actual mutation type thing or person. But that script they were talking about was his dad didn't die, in Spider-Man 3, or Amazing Spider-Man 3, that Shailene Woodley would have been Mary Jane Watson, that they kind of were heading towards that Sinister Six. That sounded like it was going to be a pretty good film. I wish we could have gotten that and still gotten the Holland stuff in the MCU.
Mm-hmm. And they were going to go towards that, like his blood, the reason why he was bit and he got the powers was because of his blood, and that was like mixed with his father's DNA, and that's why he got the powers, and yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So I think that would have been really cool and really interesting. I just think it would have been one of those things that it's hard to do something like that. Like it was hard for them when they made the third Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire to have all those, like have the villains and everything all in one movie, when you have Sandman and Venom, and then he's fighting Harry at the same time, but then Harry switches sides. It's just like there's so much going on in that movie. So
a lot going on.
Yeah.
I hope we do get all three back though for Secret Wars, because I watched No Way Home on the plane ride here. And just the whole thing, once they figured out how they're going to fight together and they can fight together, Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3, I hope we see all three of them in Secret Wars, and we see another fight with all three of them teaming up again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From the chat here, this reference to Blue Beetle. Same Andy, I was planning to watch it, but got hella busy. This is from Ollie HS. Ollie HS also says, mine's Garfield as an actor, but Holland is written better in my opinion. I almost see myself in him, in a world that's filled with these superheroes growing up as a fan of them. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, my biggest complaint about the Holland one was that he was too Iron Man-ish, especially as he started going from Far From Home into No Way Home. So, where was I at next? News here. Okay.
Quite a lot today.
Yeah. Legend of Zelda. Nintendo is developing a live-action adaptation of The Legend of Zelda. In an official announcement, the film will be produced by Shigeru Miyamoto and Avi Arad, who is most famous for his work on the Spider-Man films. It seems they also have a director in Maze Runner's West Ball, co-funded by Nintendo and Sony Pictures. Sony Pictures will also distribute the movie globally. So there you go. We are getting our video game universe.
I was never really a massive Zelda fan,
I wasn't either.
I wasn't. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember Majora's Mask was like a very popular game though, and I feel like they could totally do something with that. But
hugely popular.
Yeah, I never could really get into it either. There were some popular games, but yeah.
I was a big fan of it, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, the original Zelda series stuff. The one I really like though is Link to the Past, when you kind of have the present time and the past, and you kind of have to go back and forth to continue the game and beat things. I think that would be a pretty cool Zelda movie. I also like the new one with on Nintendo, not the Breath of the Wild or the RP, like the massive where you're riding around doing stuff, not that one, but the one that was more like the old school where the egg is on the mountain. I can't remember which one that is. Let me look it up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I love on the Switch, the more recent one. Hold on.
I just hope we work towards like a Super Smash Brothers movie or something at some point where we make 8 different movies in the Nintendo universe and then pull all these characters in, and we have Master Hand pit them in like a combat scenario to the last standing one or something.
Bloodsport.
Yeah. I just want to see Master Hand floating over the Final Destination thing, and it's just that big floating platform in space, and they fight on it. I think that would be so cool,
It was Link's Awakening. So, also be a pretty cool movie to do. You guys ever played the game Monster Boy?
I don't think so.
Where Monster Boy can go around, and he has like those things where he can turn into like a gargoyle. He can turn to like different animals, like a snake, that kind of stuff.
I think I know. I know.
Yeah, there was an old school game, and they made that game for Switch. I would love to see that as a movie too. That'd be kind of fun.
I'd quite like to see a Super Mario Kart movie done, but like Fast and Furious style. So
you got to have Vin Diesel voice Toad and say the family line.
I was gonna say Mario throws a blue shell and then like knocks the first person in first place out, and he's like family, and then crosses the finish line. You know, like it'd be so funny.
Speaking of Super Mario, it sounds like Super Mario Bros. Is turning into a franchise itself.
Yes.
Universal Pictures describes the Super Mario Brothers movie as a new franchise, possibly addressing a sequel. The Super Mario Brothers movie will be on Netflix December 3rd.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that again. I've really enjoyed that, actually. Great movie.
It was a really good.
It's on Peacock now, I believe. It's been on Peacock for a while. So, last thing for the news, Avatar: The Last Airbender. The trailer was released last week. It will be on Netflix February 22nd, 2024. So
nice.
If you haven't watched that animated show, it is one of the greatest animated shows ever. And like, oh man, the story is so excellent. And so really interested to see how they do that live action show, because the movie that they did was not very good in my opinion. With what was it, M. Night Shyamalan that did the movie? Yeah, it was not very good. I did not like that movie, but apparently this TV show is supposed to be a lot better, and it's a very powerful story. It handles themes like genocide and stuff like that in the show, and it was originally a children's show, which is crazy. I think I watched it when I was like 10 or 11 years old. So but it's such a great show, and they did like sequels and spin-offs of it, that books, comics, all kinds of stuff. So excellent story.
Nice stuff. Brilliant. Great show, guys. Jarian, where can they catch us?
you can catch the live stream on Twitter, but if you're on Twitter and want to be in the chat, make your way over to our Facebook page, one of our Facebook groups, Kick, Trovo, Twitch, or YouTube. And then we post our shorts that we do, like our commercials and other stuff from the group on Instagram, /threads and TikTok.
Awesome.
Oh, here we go. One last thing from Ollie HS. I hope they don't mess it up like they did with Cowboy Bebop and Death Note. Fingers crossed. I actually kind of enjoyed Cowboy Bebop. It was enjoyable. Yeah, it wasn't, like as accurate as you want it to be, but I actually enjoyed it watching it, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen Death Note, but I've heard people complained about how that looked in live action versus the animation. And I think some characters are really hard to bring into live action that are kind of like, like almost otherworldly characters sometimes. It's almost hard. Like, it's easier to put them in animation than it is to put them in live action. Because, like, even with all the CGI in the world, like, you sometimes end up with the Solomon Grundy Stargirl situation, which you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Hulk from Wish.
Yeah, you're just like, oh god, this looks terrible. Why did we do this? Like, and it's just like, you could have saved the CGI budget and put that into like another fight scene or something if we just sort of like not include. I get why you wanted to do it, but
then the whole Nightmare World, they did pretty cool, right?
Yeah, they did.
So,
and I loved Eclipso or whatever his name is. That Solomon Grundy is just rough. Man, was it rough. So.
All right, good stuff. Ali HS, thanks for catching us. Thanks for the sub. Nostalgia Pod Blast, always there. Great stuff. We'll see you next week. We're going to have that Marvels conversation, hopefully next Monday.
We should be, unless anything changes schedule-wise. So
awesome. Catch you then.
Bye.
Hey, you guys.